Striking hot temperatures here today at Lago di Como. Welcome to Autogefühl with the fresh Volkswagen up facelift. So this product update will be presented to you in exterior, interior and the driving experience here on Autogefühl, your number one resource for in-depth car reviews and your number one community to discuss cars with Thomas. Let's find out now with Autogefühl in full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go. Since 2011, 700,000 units have been sold worldwide. And now with the facelift, what can we see? The headlights are not that round anymore. They're a little bit sharper. Overall, the car looks, rather grown up, especially with those new headlights. And there have been slight changes to the lower bumpers. Here in the mini car segment, what would you have in the length? 3 meters and 60 now. That's 6 centimeters more than the pre-facelift, and that's just due to the overhangs. But you see a relatively long wheelbase for such a small car that delivers us a lot of space on the inside. We start with 14-inch steel rims. Those ones are the 15-inch aluminum. And finally, the rear, you have seen this is here the 4-door variant, and just is a little bit extra in price, but you can also get the 3-door variant. But here in the rear, this is classic that we got the black scheme that makes this contrast look, and the new chrome line at the lower part. And as we are right here in the rear, let's open this glass hatch. It feels very worthy. This is a cover you can remove, and then of course it's a very small car. And however, for your daily shoppings, it still does work. You can see the trolley does fit in here, and there's a cover you can remove. And then you have even more space here inside. There it is. You can just leave it out. It's okay, and then it goes way in there. And you can also flip the seats. And then, wow, we have really reasonable space in that very small car. By the way, if you flip the front seat totally, let's see if it goes any further. Yeah, that's it. And if you slide all the way in the front, you see it's quite good, the offering of space here. And well, if you have the load up, then you even don't have the rear bench, and that's really the commercial segment, and you just have 2-seater in the front and loading space in the rear. Interesting, that's also available. And here finally the total line up if you have everything removed. So one good thing is you always find a place to park this car. It's also not that broad, but due to the new design, it appears a little bit broader. But one special safety tip from me, unfortunately we haven't included the autonomous emergency brake from C-Wheel equipment. You have to buy that with a Drive Pack Plus, so get that one. Also just a couple of €100, and that's still okay. Then you also have this so-called city emergency brake. It's really important stuff to save some lives or to reduce also cost, or maybe save some life for yourself. Other than that, there are of course plenty of other options you can maybe also leave out, but this one, safety first as well. Let's look underneath the hood. There it is, TSI, the turbo petrol engine, 90 horsepower, 1 liter of displacement. The other ones that are available, naturally aspirated ones, you have to find that one first here. Naturally aspirated, also 1 liter of displacement, but then 60 or 75 horsepower and about 3 to 4 seconds difference than here. This one is faster, so about 10 seconds from 0 to 100 kilometers or 0 to 60 miles an hour, and that will make a major difference. So this is the car key, standard Volkswagen one, and with the flip out here. Wow. And let's get inside. Very easy doors, but already a good closing sound. And told you earlier, we got the 5-door or 4-door version here. However, if you want to define the hatch as another door. And by the way, in the background, you hear the typical Italian sound because there are, the small motorcycles all over the place. That's also characteristic here. Sound of Italy. Then let's get inside, and what you can see here is very interesting because you see everything has been painted all over around. There are no covers on the inside of the doors. Some call it cheap, but you can also call it original because just imagine there's some buildings where you leave the concrete wall and that's trendy, stylish. Maybe that's something in that direction because I think if I buy the car in that color, it's also maybe also cool to see the color on the inside. That's it. Nice. And then let me get inside, and the funny thing is it's a rather upright seating position and it's very comfortable, even for me, 1.86 m. Yeah, I know our subscribers know it's 6'1". Still got a lot of space above my head, and also there's a very roomy, spacious feeling, and I really like that. And I think it's even better in some of the small cars like the Polo, for example. New covers here for the dashboard, for example, this is wicked. This is kind of the surface you sometimes see on the floor, and you get really crazy by looking at it because you can look at it by different angles. But for example, also wide stylings again for this one possible. So get a wide variety of choices, and that's also one thing that's very unique. Also, you can see this doesn't look like here like an Audi single frame grille. This frame we got here, very interesting. A very clean cockpit, not so joyful than in other mini cars, but very stringent. And by the color choices, you can spice it up then a little bit. Also, for example, with the so-called Beats edition, it's a special model you can get then also with the sound system, but you can also get the Beats sound system with 7 speakers just as an option, about I think 400 or 500 euros for all other versions. And again, the cockpit overview, here you can see it again what I mean. Big cover for the dashboard that you can individualize, I really like that. And everything else, well, it is hard plastic, but we are also in a low price segment. Starts at about 10,000 euros and goes up to 15,000 with the biggest engine and also the highest trim level. So I want to hear your opinion, what you think about this interior. I think in the mini car segment, I think it's really pleasing, not especially with those black covers, but I think with the white covers, that's really something special, and to look at it, that you can still get something different already without spending too much money in premium segments. And I want you to take a look here at the seats. You see, they offer a lot of space for this small car, and there are a lot of different variation possible. Always cloth seats, I really like that. And you see, you've got some color variations here already with the blue, it fits to the color. But there are a lot of different combinations also with gray contrasts and so on available. So it's great that we have a lot of choices there as well. Storage spaces, here the inside of the doors. So of course limited, as you also don't have bulky doors. Then glove box, it doesn't slide down that smoothly, but reasonable space in here definitely. Then some space here in the front with the beverage holder and some of, for example, this electronic motorway ticket for Italian roads. Then classic handbrake and another beverage holder right here, so for 2 bottles. Instruments, they're really huge, especially the speedometer and the digital screen, for example, for the current consumption. Now the multimedia unit, first of all, temperature here, hot and cold, vent control, and seat heating is also available, but we don't need that one today here. This here is called composition phone, this radio unit. There's also the radio composition, but composition phone you need in this system that you can connect your iPhone. There's this new holder here available and it costs 130 euros. Yeah, you can get a cheaper one, but here you get directly the USB plug in the rear. You can have the USB plug in there, then you can fold around the cable on there, and then you have a fitting holder for your car as well. Yes, of course, you can also get a cheaper one. But here you got the direct combination between phone and the car system. The composition phone is about, I think, 160 euros. So overall, with around 300 euros, you got this system, even cheaper than the big GPS. Then you got, for example, GPS view here. You can use it like Google Maps style, and you need a special app for that. It's called here Maps and More. It's a Cyprus at the moment. So Maps and More, you have to get this Volkswagen up app. The app is for free. That's a good thing, of course. I will show you later on when we drive the cars. I would rather prefer if you have it vertically mounted for the GPS. For everything else, the horizontal mount is actually better because you also have other choices than the GPS in here. You check the music here, for example. Also have some views here on the behavior of the car. If I turn on the engine, you can see it right here. Here when I turn up the RPMs. So funny stuff you can have on this app, but the main reason is the GPS, of course, and that you can see everything, music-wise, and you can have trainer for consumption, for example. And what is also very interesting, in the GPS you can also write the letters like we've seen with other cars, and then writing the letters you can see the results, and you can keep on writing on the results. So that's a system, to make it a little bit easier to enter an address. Let's get in the rear, and this will be very exciting because with 3 meters and 60 in length, hey, as I'm driving, as a tall driver, it exactly fits with my knees here in the rear, and that's really astonishing because we have other cars that are like, this longer or something like that. And also headspace-wise, you can sit here. So traveling with 4 adults is actually possible, and that is this square building size we have here. Maybe for some it doesn't look that good on the outside, but of course it delivers you a lot of space on the inside then. And one funny element to save some costs, by the way, the windows. We've seen, for example, also in the Citroën C4 Cactus. Here you just have those. But it's maybe also accounting, hey guys, accounting for that you don't travel with too many people in the rear with this car anyway. And speaking about saving cost, as for the windows, when I want to raise the windows, the electric ones, there are electric ones here available here, I have to hold the button. There's no auto function, and I will not present you that now on the co-driver side, because then our cameraman or camera woman today would be probably not so happy. So now what about the sound system? I've connected my iPhone here now because just to show you that this one is not any special setup. You can just plug it in also with the USB port above there, and then you have the connection. And I want to test the sound system with the 7 speakers here, 600 watt. Wow, it's really great sound. As we are also used from Beats audio headphones, it's with a strong bass that is often also criticized. But really for such a small car, it's really great sound. Wow, really amazed. I mean, it's hard to transport that really on camera, but I can tell you it's really a very good surround sound we can hear here. Alright, to the driving part, and very unusual for such a small car, but we'll start on the motorway because this is also interesting as for the new turbo engine, because so far maybe was a little bit lazy with a NA engine, naturally aspirated petrol engine on the motorway, but here with the turbo it is possible, and I'm quite surprised about the performance. I told you earlier, just 10 seconds or 9.9 seconds from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour or 0 to 60 miles an hour. That's the tele pass, by the way. We're in Italy today. And for example here now, let's see the acceleration. Second gear, 20 to, let's say 100. Let's go. Second gear still. Now to third gear with 5,000 RPMs and 100. And yeah, that's it. And for such a micro car, very good performance. And even now I'm in fourth gear, just below 3,000 RPM, driving 100 kilometers an hour. Now I have to slow down a little bit. Even in the fourth gear, when I hit the throttle, there's something happening, and that doesn't happen too often. 5-gear or manual gearbox, only available here for the 90 horsepower TSI. The other ones, the MPI, the ones without the turbo, are also available with the ASG. That's the automatisiertes Schaltgetriebe, great German word, for automated manual transmission. Sound insulation, of course, in a higher segment you feel better. It's not that loud then, but for a microcar it's also okay. We've tested it before with the dB meter, and about 100 kilometers an hour on the motorway with about 75, 76 dB. That's of course more than we score, for example, like in compact or compact SUV segment, definitely more. But still, I don't feel that I have to raise my voice that much. Also, always depends on the surface, of course. But the main feature here about the Volkswagen up in general, and also about this new turbo engine, is you do feel comfortable on the motorway now. Even better than, for example, in some of the small car segment. For example, me as a rather tall driver, I would rather go for the up than for the Polo as for the driving also on the motorway, because here, I think you all see it, and when I've seen in the interior overview, you sit rather upright, and that helps you also on motorway trips where you just, sit in the same position for a long time. But it's totally fine. I tend to get lower back pain when I have an uncomfortable seating position, and that's not the case here due to this rather upright seating. So that's a really good thing we have here. Again, I just have to shift down to the 4th gear or maybe even the 3rd gear, and then I get the power from the turbo. Okay, the naturally aspirated engine promised to be more durable as there's no turbo that can brake. But if you also want to use the Volkswagen up for the motorway, sometimes or maybe a little more often, that's really good to go for the turbo engine, because you have that power then. But soon, of course, we'll go off the motorway and tell you more, a little bit more, the drivability at slower speeds, city, and so on, and agility, because that's what usually happening with this car. But here also at higher speeds, the steering feels very natural, although it doesn't need so much power. So I think they've found a good solution in here, and also from the steering wheel elements. And some of the other elements they've taken as well while driving. For example, going through tunnels now, they've worked on the air filter system, just taken that from the higher segments and said, okay, we don't build a worse one, we just get the good air filter systems from the higher class segments and also build it in here, so that you're going to have a cleaner air inside here than on the outside, for example, when there are all those hazardous microparticles outside, which are also coming from modern turbo engines, of course. So, yeah, that's something. Instruments, especially when here driving in the dark, they have this little retro style with the white background, but I really like it. As we've mainly started with motorway driving, consumption is about 4.7 liters on 100 kilometers at the moment. For a turbo engine, I mean, the car is rather light, so it's also fine. So now we'll get off this, now it's again part motorway being tunnel here. We'll also see how the consumption will maybe raise up, but if you just drive in the city, I think it will rather be like 5 to 6 liters. But still, this is really a car where you can save fuel with. Of course, the Volkswagen turbo engines in general, they feel very refined, they're very silent, they're very powerful, but they're not the most fuel saving that you have to be aware of. So could also be using less fuel for me. Now we're getting off, and there you see also don't have to turn the steering wheel that wide, so you don't need a big steering angle, and that's also again comfortable for driving in the city and also when you're doing more agile rides. Now we get a nice view here. So again, some acceleration, going downhill, second gear, also sound-wise has a very, very interesting sound. I think it's general for the up. Maybe because there's not the best insulation to the engine, but it's, especially here with the turbo pressure, and it's not getting too loud, definitely not. So again, very smooth shifting. Also suspension-wise, as we had some waves on the motorways, was very smooth, evening it out. And I also remember driving the predecessor versions of this car. There was the Volkswagen Fox and also before the Volkswagen Lupo. And those were, very soft on the motorway. Here you still got enough contact to the road, especially when driving a little bit slower here now. It already feels a little bit sporty, and that's of course because we have that small wheelbase in general. That also accounts for the driving fun of this car. The length that was, this has really a little increased now, as I've told you earlier, has nothing to do with driving. So driving-wise, suspension, setup and stuff, that remained the same pre-facelift and now the facelift. And now I see I've probably taken the wrong way, so it's always good exercise to go into reverse gear and just turn the car around. And I can also show you press and then left to get in the reverse. Easy again to get the steering wheel. We don't have the rear view camera, which is optionally available, but you can always see to the back mirror where the car is ending, so short with its 316 meters. But I get the PDC, the park distance control, that getting the warnings, and so easy here to feel very good in the city because you directly see where the car is ending. So let's see where we get over here. Especially for narrow Italian cities, surely a very good car. What do you think about the sound? I think it has a really unique sound. It's very funny. So I have to go around the circle here again. But that's also a good thing really to test the vehicle. Now a little bit uneven road. It's, sometimes from some stiffer suspension you really get the feeling in the lower back from those bumps. Here it's absolutely no problem. Those roundabouts you see very frequently in France as well, for example. Also perfect surrounding for this car. Yeah, it's getting a little bit sportier now. And yes, it is really fun to drive the car, also a little bit sportier. This one is not from the car, from our equipment. It's rattling sound. So overall, the noise ambience perfectly fine. Here, for example, a situation you have to get on the road. You have just short way to get on there, and that's really good to have the turbo. You can really hammer the throttle because recently we've presented you also the Honda Jazz. That's small car segment, so one segment above. A little bit longer as well, 40 centimeters longer. But there we had the naturally aspirated engine with 100 horsepower. It's a very good engine in general, but there you couldn't do stuff like these. You might say, I don't need a bigger car, I would go for that one. Or as I've told you, I feel better here, seating-wise, than in small car segment above that, because they are more built in a classic car style. This one here more this new van style, as I would call it, more form follows function. So again, a lot of tunnels here around Lago di Como. Here again some slalom. There you can see that the commands I give in the steering wheel are directly transported into the road. So the steering wheel setup is really sporty. And I like that because this car is also a lot about emotion, also the color choices we had earlier. And so it also accounts for having driving fun in your everyday driving, because especially when you're in a city full of traffic, it makes your life so much easier when you also have a fun car to drive around. And while driving, you can always also see the color of the car. Some might say it's cheap to see that. I think it's also something unique. I mean, why not? And if you pick that color, you maybe also want to see that inside. Now we have a beautiful view on Lago di Como here. And I think the color of the car is perfectly matching the color of the lake. What do you think about that? And this one here is the MPI, the naturally aspirated engine. So in comparison to the turbo engine, here the one with 75 horsepower. And now another driving part. Oh, it was a wedding Range Rover Evoque. I thought it was a camo car because it was covered a little bit, but then I realized it was covered in flowers. Nice. But back to this vehicle here. This is now the VW up with the MPI. That's the naturally aspirated engine, 75 horsepower. And at lower speeds, it doesn't make such a big difference. And if, for example, keep in low gears, well, you have to push the throttle really hard and the RPMs go higher. Driving here in the city, it's also perfectly fine. The only difference is that you really have to hammer the throttle a little bit more. But I mean, in most of the cities where you have also a lot of traffic and speed is maximum 50 kilometers an hour, or some parts also 30 kilometers an hour, it doesn't make such a huge difference then, not having the turbo, so you will get along with it. The biggest difference is really on the motorway, because if you want to overtake someone there, it's not really possible that good with the naturally aspirated engine here. So you rather stay on the right lane and just drive, 80 or 100 and don't do any overtaking stuff and maybe not going with the highest speed then. So if you're using it really frequently on the motorway, then the turbo should be in consideration for you. If it's really mostly the city driving, you will also fine with the naturally aspirated engine. Other than that, driving characteristics is pretty much the same. You see we have the nice and agile ride from this shorter wheelbase. Shifting is also the same, smooth, without any resistance. It's really just the power. Well, the sound, this one here is a little bit louder, but just due to the fact that you have to turn up the RPMs a little bit more to reach the same speed. Other than that, it doesn't make such a big difference than sound-wise. So again, motorway is the biggest difference we have here. Let's see where we have to go. There, for example, you have to go back to the first gear to get some more torque. So you definitely have more driving fun with the TSI. This one is more, it's more, if you want the price to be low and say, okay, I don't need really lot of power or I buy it for my business. The TSI is then, if you say, I want to have driving fun. With a little bit longer trip, you might remember with the TSI, we were something about 4.5 to 5 liters, and that's really the funny thing. That's almost the stated consumption, and that hardly ever happens, so that's a really good result. Here we haven't driven so far yet, but we can check what the board computer says. At the moment 5.8. And usually it's the, that the naturally aspirated engines use a little bit less fuel. But that's quite often with a high displacement. Here, of course, if I want to reach the same power, I need to hammer the throttle more and go higher RPMs. So that might be the other direction. But you have to account for that with the TSI. We had a long motorway trip. Here we had rather lower speeds and also accelerating and stuff. This says 5.8 liters now. When we're on the motorway, it will also drop down to about 5 liters for sure. But it might be also an indicator that the fuel consumption difference between those two engines is not that high. I mean, it's the same amount of displacement. The horsepower figure is also not that different. So now also interesting, it starts to rain. And that gives us some more variety in our driving. First of all, as for the sound, you see, well, the roof is not that thick, not that well insulated. It's good because I have a lot of headspace still left. The disadvantage is it's really thin, you can feel it. And that makes it also very loud when rain is dropping onto the roof. You have to be aware of that. But in general, I think it was a good choice to go for more headroom than for more insulation. Because for some like mid-sized sedans, they set more on the insulation part, but then you have hardly any space above your head to the left. Handling is still good here, also in the rain. 15-inch rims we have mounted, and we've driven different sizes as for the rims here as well today in our test driving parts. And we didn't feel too much of a difference. So also the bigger rims, they don't lead to a lack in comfort then. That's also a good thing, definitely. Yeah, here for example, you rather keep rolling. It's not like you accelerate out of a corner, accelerate out of a roundabout. You just keep rolling almost at the same speed, increase your speed slightly. And if you're fine by that and have to look at the budget, then it's okay. But for everyone that wants to have a lot of fun now and when the budget is okay, then the TSI, I do like it more, although if I usually prefer naturally aspirated engine due to durability. I really had a lot of fun driving with the TSI here today, and the naturally aspirated engine, especially if you've driven it afterwards, seems just a little bit weak in comparison to this new turbo then. But overall, what I really like here with this vehicle, the white style, not everyone likes it, but what is great for me when driving it, always creates a really bright atmosphere. Also with a bright ceiling, and no matter what the light situation is outside, even if it would be very dark, you always, have a smile on your face because you see the bright interior. And so I would generally go for the bright interior inside, and then maybe pour some blue on the exterior. That would be also a cool combination. Then again, you have to see if that combination is possible. You have to check the presets in each market and what is possible for your country. And now to the conclusion, Volkswagen up, a facelift. Overall, it has been a very good car in this mini car segment so far, with the facelift, slight changes on the exterior, a little bit sharper outlook it has here now. In the interior, also more refinement and also more color choices. So it's, let's say, a little bit, trendier, a little bit more style even in the interior. And we also got this mobile phone solution we have here now, with a lot of people will just be fine by that. And the best thing is, it's relatively comfortable, and even for tall people, it really works. Sometimes I really think it's better than the small car segment, because you here have the rather upright seating position. Definitely among the top in the class in this mini car segment. So I hope you liked our little insight here, our colorful review we had here today with the Volkswagen up. And I want to hear your opinion on the exterior, color choices of course, interior and the driving experience here as well. Thank you very much for tuning into Autogefühl. I'm sure we'll see us at our next episode.